course, the two semi-professional sides that are in that third and fourth place at the moment, if they're in the middle eight, then they've got nothing to lose. They can go out and do a bit of damage against someone. You never know.
I think you're throwing the optimism too wide open there.
You never know. But, like you said, the quality of the Super League sides that are in that middle four is significantly higher than, what we had last year, especially when you think that actually Huddersfield are on a bit of an uptick, Leeds are certainly on a bit of an uptick. KR seem to be able to do something creative. The only team I look at and worry about is Salford.
But that's only a mentality thing, because quality-wise, they've been...
But the game's not played on paper, so we'll see. Sorry, okay, carry on.
Yeah, no, and then finally we're going to finish off this section with a shout-out. We haven't done too many shout-outs since we brought in SLP Recommends, and also we kind of don't maybe get our hands dirty looking around as much as stuff. I don't know. But
now we've come to walk amongst you unwashed masses.
But this week, I spotted Dom Hodgson, one of our listeners at the Hodge on Twitter, gets in touch, and really good guy. He's set up a new charity endeavour, I've noticed. Have you seen this, Tom?
This is this is on the back of his little girl, isn't it?
Yeah. So they're looking to provide clothes that fit premature babies, essentially. And if you've got any clothes that you could donate or want to find out more about this that Dom's set up or anything like that, you can go to smallkids.co.uk for more details. So that's really good, and I'd encourage people to have a look and support Dom where they can.
Absolutely.
My brother's baby was born about 3 weeks early, but it's not undersized.
That's not undersized. No.
So
he's got that Yorkshire DNA, hasn't he?
No.
He's got that Illingworth.
Yeah, the Yorkshire's been washed out 3 generations back. So.
It doesn't wash out, mate. It doesn't wash out.
It does when you get a purer bloodline.
Right. Before we get on Game of Thrones, then let's take a look now at news from around the world of rugby league. So, to news from around the world of rugby league then, and we'll start on Thursday, and we'll start at the AJ Bell with probably the biggest story of the week, and that's that the Super League club Salford Red Devils have lost their appeal against a 6-point deduction imposed for breaching salary cap regulations. An independent RFL tribunal ruled on the charges brought in April, and an independent body has upheld that verdict, which also saw Salford fined £5,000 for seeking to avoid declaring payments to one player and non-declaration of benefits to 2 others. Salford Red Devils owner Marwan Kukash is considering his future involvement in rugby league after losing the appeal. Kukash told BBC Radio Manchester, "You start questioning, is the sport with this governing body worth keeping my involvement in it and investing like I have been doing? I have no doubt whatsoever the RFL are out to get Salford at every opportunity as long as I'm involved in the club, and the 6-point deduction is very harsh," he continued. It's as harsh as it was a couple of years ago when they deducted a couple of points from the club for fielding 14 players. When we saw it a few weeks ago, Widnes did it twice and they got a fine. So we can see that they have been targeting Salford for quite a while. That's probably due to the fact that I'm outspoken against them and they see me as a person who is not welcome in the sport. If that's the case, then maybe I shouldn't be in the sport. When asked for a response to Kukash's comments, the RFL responded with the same statement released after Salford's appeal was rejected. That said, the independent body Sports Resolution upheld the decision by an independent RFL tribunal to find Salford Red Devils guilty of breaching the salary cap in 2014 and the 2015 season. The tribunal found Salford guilty of the following: seeking to avoid declaring payments made to Tony Pulatua by entering into a contract with the player via another company associated with the club, non-declaration of benefits to Lama Tassi and Theo Farge. Kukash has admitted the wrongdoings. He said, what we couldn't get away from was, yes, there were 3 undeclared payments dating back in 2013 and 2014, 2 of them for helping players pay rent. He added, they could be argued due to administration or mismanagement. That's why we are getting the 6 points deducted for breaking operational rules and not the salary cap itself. If you add the 3 undeclared payments to our spend, we do not go over the salary cap. I think it's unfair. Yes, we did not declare the payments, but is a 6-point deduction fair? No, it is not. Wow. Did you see him on television?
Yeah.
When they were interviewing him as well, I was.
Yeah.
It's just he just doesn't seem to get it, does he? I don't think.
I mean, again, I've come back to the point we made when he did that little charade with his clipboard that actually demonstrated they did break the cap, or whatever. Either way, the problem is Salford and Marwan Kukash are allowed to make administrative mistakes, apparently, but the RFL aren't.
Yeah.
So one people not fit for purpose,
whilst he should be allowed.
While one people should be allowed to do what they want. One of the other things he keeps bringing up is this Salford being targeted. Right, okay. If he claims other teams have done this and he has evidence to prove it and whatnot, release it. Release it to the same tribunals that assess his cases, so that people can be brought to even if that's my club or whatever club, to prove that they're not out to get Salford. It's just Salford's indiscretions came to light, probably because of the way Marwan Kukash was and the way he can be abrasive with some of the playing and training staff and that sort of stuff that have been involved in the club that have felt pushed out of the club because for whatever reason, and that's led to people making legal actions against him. That has led to these things coming to light. If that didn't happen, if he didn't cause these frictions, if he was more capable of getting on with people, some of those things would not come to the light. And also, if you don't come out and say, I would happily break the salary cap, and then break the rules that underpin the salary cap, the point is, you've set like you say, you've put that target on your back. I don't want Marwan Kukash to leave the sport, but I want him to operate within the rules of the competition, to not completely disregard in such a way that he has done the way the sport is managed and run, whilst challenging it. Yes, that's reasonable, whilst suggesting things for progress and change. He can't just come along and do what he's done and then spit his dummy out, throw his toys out the pram and threaten to take his ball home and all of the baby kind of the childish insults you can throw at him for the way he's behaved every time something doesn't go his way.
No, I couldn't agree more.
The other thing that they throw up,
go on, because you might be about to get to me. Go on. Is
the Salford fine and points deduction for the players on the field thing, whereas other teams have been treated differently, and you pointed to the Widnes case this year. We've talked about this already, and how Marwan Kukash cannot get it through his head that a player effecting a fucking tackle on the goal line in a close game right at the end of the game is far different from a team winning by 30 or 40 points, having a bloke swapping but not really getting involved but being on the field. It's a very different offence.
Of course it
and
is.
Similarly, also, Salford had the opportunity to take a £10,000 fine that Mr. Moneybags could have just paid, but instead, after his appeal, the alternative option, what was put forward, was a £5,000 fine for him to carry the can on, and a 2-point deduction that ultimately didn't actually affect their league position, their league status in the end. So he chose that option in a way, and that seems to get swept away. He could have just paid $5 more grand. All this money he's invested, he could have just paid $5 more grand, cope with the fact that his staff had messed up again. Even though the RFL also have a part to play in substitutions being affected correctly, they can't. An official can't go on and drag a player off. I just think one person can do wrong and one person can't, and it's all because they hate Salford. They don't hate Salford.
No, and this is the thing that gets me the most, the way he's trying to spin it. And if I hear that line one more time about, well, it's not fair to punish Salford from 2016, it's not fair to punish the fans, it's not fair to punish this group of players. No, you're absolutely right. It's not fair that this group of people are going through that now, particularly when they see like they're getting the house in order. But unfortunately, the bloke who affected all these mistakes is in charge at that club, and it's him that's being punished. And so if you've got any anger or any resentment as a Salford fan, it doesn't need to be directed at the RFL. It needs to be directed at the geezer who was driving the car, who made these decisions and who set this chain reaction in motion, knowing probably fine well what the potential outcomes are. And if he didn't know fine well what the outcomes were in terms of, I'm going to break the salary cap, I'm going to play fast and loose with these operational rules, then he's stupid and he's not doing due diligence in terms of running his club anyway. So that's the thing that annoys me most about it, is this kind of, isn't it terrible and tragic for the Salford fans? Yeah, it's awful, it's not great, you probably live to fight another day, But don't blame the RFL and don't point fingers at, there's a conspiracy theory. The fact of the matter is that there's a clear chain of events that goes from Marwan Kukash taking charge at Salford three and a bit years ago to where you're at now. So
and the salary
get behind your team and keep them up in the Super League.
The salary cap does need reform, and it does need increasing. It does need looking at. It is fundamental to the progress of our sport that some changes are affected in that area.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be removed, and the RFL shouldn't have the same difficulty policing it, because they shouldn't have clubs breaking it.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have clubs not disclosing payments. It's happened. It's not probably the first time or the last time that the salary cap will be an issue, but it's happened.
Yeah.
And why don't the clubs support the RFL? The clubs have voted it in, the majority. The clubs have voted it in. The clubs must reinforce that through their own interactions with the Super League, with the Rugby Football League, and they should work together to affect the change that will be positive.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
But I'll say again, I don't want Marwan Kukash to leave the sport. I don't want him to stop challenging the RFL. I just want him to start doing it in a more sensible, less clownish way.
Yeah, let's affect change in a positive manner rather than just, raging. Okay, we did obviously get some feedback on this one. Owen Hughes, he got in touch. He said, hope Salford can move on now from all this distraction, the points deduction. Marwan Kukash need to accept and get on with running the club. This team is actually getting there. Avoid cheating this year and we might make the top 8 next year if we're still in Super League, that is. Yeah, that's the whole point. You need to get behind them now, don't they? Tim Griffiths got in touch. He said, suspect he's just saying he might go to get a reaction / different treatment for his next transgression. Scoops McKenzie, she got in touch and she said, I think I'm in the minority of non-Salford fans, but I would have liked them to get their points back. I think it would have made the competition more interesting for the last few weeks, and it does seem unfair to penalise this year's team for past misdemeanours. I think that in the past Marwan has said some very stupid things, but more recently I feel a bit sorry for him because I do think he has learned from some of his mistakes. Ultimately, I think any movement away from the old boys of the Hetherington monopoly and the stranglehold on Super League is positive.
Yeah, but you see chairman like Lenigan wanting to affect changes that people like Hetherington not necessarily always on board with straight away, but maybe move, like the reserve competition, for example. You see like Moran and McManus and people all, so it's not all about what Gary Hetherington wants as much as everyone who hates Leeds, which is most of us, like to think, just like it's not all about what Ian Lenigan wants, just like it's not, these people don't run the sport individually, but they probably want the best for the sport overall. They love the sport, just the same as Marwan Kukash. It'd be better if they worked together on it rather than feeling like, rather than there being egos in the room and they wanting to be the person who has the breakthrough idea, who is the person who wins or what have you. Let's affect a change without having to fucking pass credit around for it. Last word on it. Hasn't Ian Watson done really well for all this?
Yeah, him and Tim Sheens have conducted themselves with real dignity, and that's something that at times has been lacking around the higher structures of the Salford club, but it is good to see Ian Watson doing the job he's doing, and certainly I would say the way that they've recruited and done things this season has been a marked difference and led to a marked improvement in terms of how the Salford club, when you look at things like the youth system that they're employing now as well and bringing back in, these are good things, and that's good positive stuff for next year and the year after, I would say. Yeah,
I genuinely hope the Kukash, Sheens, Watson line of command can remain in place for next year with a Super League Salford side and the fans start coming back. With the road link built, less excuses, and let's see how that goes, but that'll be exciting, I'd say. I
would say so too. Right, Huddersfield have appointed Australian Rick Stone as their new head coach. Stone is 49 and a former head coach of Newcastle in the NRL, succeeds former Great Britain international Paul Anderson, who was sacked last month. Stone, who coached Fiji at the 2013 World Cup, was sacked by the Knights last July and has been working on the backroom staff of the Sydney Roosters since. He has agreed a 2.5-year contract with the Giants and is planning to fly into the UK in time for Sunday's home game against St Helens. Stone will be assisted by former Huddersfield players Chris Thorman and Luke Robinson, who also worked with caretaker coach Andy Kelly until he left for Australia with the England Academy squad on Saturday. Rick Stone then. What do you know about Rick Stone, Mark?
I don't know a great deal about him, to be honest. All I know really is he didn't really do much with the Knights, but he wasn't quite as bad as the Nathan Brown Knights this year.
Yeah.
But he kind of